All right, let's go. The Eagles took command of the NFC East thanks to one of the most dominant defenses in the league, as the NFC is really shaping up into a two-horse race. However, why is Philly still getting criticism? What entered Kellen Moore's mind to call that play? And how can the Birds unlock the full potential of this squad? Plus, even if you have your doubts, I'll give you more than a couple reasons that this isn't the team from last year. So let's talk about what this group proved and what to expect moving forward. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Alright, not gonna lie, but seeing the Eagles in person for the first time this year was insane. Which is really exactly how you could describe the level the defense is playing at right now. I mean, consider that Washington entered the game averaging 28.4 points per game and 377 yards per game, while clearly ranking in the top 5 in nearly every major offensive category. However, Vic Fangio's defense held Washington to a season-low 18 points and only 264 yards.
They're gonna talk about this night.
The Eagles defense put on a clinic on an offense that's been going up and down the field against every other team.
3rd and 5, look out, down he goes.
He's being chased, he's running, he's being pushed, he's knocked out of bounds. The Eagles take over on downs.
Daniels fires over the middle, and it is Reed Blankenship.
I think at the beginning of the season and preseason, a lot of people were underestimating this defense and the guys we have, the pieces we have. And we set out to change the narrative and show that this is an electrifying group right here. This is what we do, and we're not going to back down from anybody.
Yeah, well, the narrative has completely changed because even though I've been very high on the Vic Fangio defense, I never expected to say the Philadelphia Eagles have the #1 defense in the NFL. Seriously, if you look at yards allowed, the Birds are #1 after the win over the Commanders. Like, that's crazy. Especially when you think about the Eagles haven't finished in first place as a defense since 1991. Yeah, which was, the Bud Carson gangrene defense, one that rewrote the record books, where they finished with the fewest passing yards allowed, fewest rushing yards allowed, and led the league in sacks and fumble recoveries, eventually leading to 5 players from the defense getting selected to the Pro Bowl. And defensive ends Reggie White and Clyde Simmons, defensive tackle Jerome Brown, linebacker Seth Joyner, and cornerback Eric Allen. Like, come on, we're talking about one of the greatest defenses in NFL history. Now, no, hear me out. I'm not saying today's squad is up to that same level. Yeah, just to be in the same sentence with a chance to do something that hasn't been done in nearly 35 years is wild. Especially adding on to that when it wasn't even a year ago that we were watching one of the most vulnerable defenses get pulverized week in and week out. Heck, even before the bye, I think it's fair to say a lot of individuals were just a bit concerned. Since some were giving up on Fangio, calling the DC washed and at the end of his rope.
It's official, old buddy. Well, has been. What are you talking about?
Kudos to those of you who stayed patient, because Fangio still clearly got it, as the Eagles' defense since the bye has allowed 12.6 points per game, 211.3 yards per game, only 6 total touchdowns, and are first in EPA per play. Plus, take a look at the stat Dennis Selman brought up. The typical NFL defense gets a stop on a series of downs, meaning, they prevent a new first down on an average of 29% of the time. Yet when you look at the Eagles since the bye, they are blowing away the rest of the league at 40%. Fine, you're right. Let's not forget the naysayers who would very clearly point out that Philly had a very easy schedule, especially before Thursday night's game. And I don't know, to be fair, sure, it's not like it was the most daunting of teams post-bye week. Although Cincinnati, for some reason, doesn't count, but whatever. All I'll say is that at least finally we can put the hate and criticism to rest, after the Birds forced 5 punts, 1 turnover, or 2 if you count the turnover on downs, to an offense that ranked second in terms of efficiency entering the contest.
On script, this is the worst team full of good players in the league.
Should we pay as much attention to that as I've been paying attention to? Listen, I understand, hey, like you said, think of it like perfume. You sniff it, you whiff it, you take it in, but don't drink that. Okay, but it's tough not to drink that. We got all these morons out here saying you're a back coach when you're arguably the front runner for Coach of the Year.
Look, I'll say this right now. I got to apologize to Sirianni for as much hate as I've thrown his way. Of course, I still want him as far away from the X's and O's as possible. However, the team is clearly behind him 100%, which is ultimately the only thing that matters. And whether or not you or I buy into it completely, Sirianni has the best winning percentage in team history and the most wins by an Eagles head coach in their first 60 games. Plus, the vibes are just building for this team. I don't know. What do you make of that? And then also, going back to Colin Cowherd's comment about the worst team with the best players, as opposed to what? Like the best team with the worst players? I mean, what kind of take is that? Who knows? You can convert everybody and there's always going to be hypocrites making excuses. Like, for example, one commie superfan named Eli who went with a take before the game of, if you think Quinyon Mitchell is clamping up Terry McLaurin, you got other things coming your way.
Well, sometimes dreams can turn into nightmares.
Did you think your song and dance and your superstition would help you, Eli? I am the third revelation.
Bro, he didn't even have the ball thrown his way. That's literally how much on lockdown Q had scared Terry. Although I will say, to his credit, I did appreciate his honesty afterward about talking about Quinyon Mitchell.
He's a good corner. I think, he plays well. He doesn't really play like a rookie.
Okay, obviously that's some big-time praise coming from a guy who's kind of been an Eagle killer in past matchups against Philly. Yet that also shouldn't be a surprise, because Q's had the tools and ability, which is why I was so hyped on him during the draft. But the fact that the Rook got almost 4 months to go one-on-one against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith before the season started has 100% paid dividends. Also, the same thing for Cooper DeJean, but he was just injured for a bit. Regardless, now you're starting to see the full potential of this squad, and it's absolutely unreal.
This is fundamental football, while the Eagles have the #1 total defense right now. Fundamentally sound, all right? Zack Baun, he is at the edge. But I'm going to show you the intricate details of how this plays. Just like a basic play is a no gain. Okay, they're going to run a little play action away. They're hoping that to some degree, Zack Baun gets greedy, him right here, and that he chases. He doesn't. Square to the line of scrimmage. Now watch Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean foot in the dirt. He's going to keep his body position in front of that over route long enough that Jayden Daniels can't turn and chunk it. Zack Baun. Back to him. Square at the line of scrimmage. He's going to take out this receiver that's running a little come back across the line of scrimmage route. Take him out. Now that you've taken him out of the play, remember, Nakobe Dean's body position is to some degree taking him out of the play. Now Zack Baun, go address the quarterback. Boom, no gain. Like, that is the plays that win you football games, play in, play out. Yes, people will show you an interception. People can show you a forced fumble. That happens 2 times a game, 3 times a game max. But these are the plays, down in, down out, that win you football games. Fundamentally sound. You do not let the motion throw you off. Eye control. He doesn't chase down the line of scrimmage. Had he chased down the line of scrimmage, this player would have been wide open for a 10 to 15-yard gain. He stays square to the line of scrimmage. He takes this player out of the route. He looks up the over route. He takes the over route out of the route. Now, address him, get rid of him. Now go make the tackle on one of the most elusive quarterbacks playing. No gain. That is winning and championship football. And it's the basic stuff that you don't even see and that analysts don't even shout out. These are the plays that win you games.
Okay, having said that, I get the small minority of you that still have a little bit of PTSD, a little bit of anxiety considering what happened last December. But honestly, this team is completely different because the scheme is different, the personnel is different, and just about everything else is different. Look, we've seen this type of production from Fangio before, but the biggest part is that the unit isn't getting beat in the same ways and constantly evolving to confuse the offense.
Everybody can play, and everybody can rush, and everybody can cover. So you might see one thing, you may see a weakness one week, or something might get exposed, but we fix it quick, understand what we're going to get attacked at, and we go right back to work.
By the way, case in point of that is where they not only erased McLaurin, but also held Jayden Daniels to 1 for 5 on throws of 10+ yards for just 10 yards and an interception. And shout out to Honest NFL for the insight, but the versatile talent Fangio has allowed him to change up the looks each week, as he elected to play a whole lot more quarters than he has this season, which proved to be the perfect counter for Daniels' deep drops in the passing game, leaving the perfect message, of course, for the confused commies.
Washington, respect y'all, but y'all know this run through us.
Look, I've said it before, this is not the same defense as last season. This is one that has grit, toughness, resolve, and physicality. And oh yeah, they're only getting better. So once the offense gets things together a little bit earlier in games, this team's going to be unstoppable. Yet again, I'll say seeing this group in person was that much more impressive. Of course, on that note, I got to give a huge shout out to Ron for the awesome game day hookup, and also my guy Justin, who was able to make sure I got an up-close experience of the birds in the link. For real, I mean it. That was one of the absolute best experiences I've ever had on a game day, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Heck, we're talking about the Eagles under the lights in prime time against a division rival. So yeah, kind of a given that the atmosphere was going to be lit. And after the light show with the stadium rocking and, of course, the Eagle flying, I was sitting there saying, oh yeah, birds by a million. Yes, even if Justin Pugh decided to not wear an Eagles jersey at the game. I mean, there was just no way we were going to lose.
No, there's no way.
By the way, those of you who've gone to a game know exactly what I'm talking about. So with nothing being quite like a home game at the link, I'm going to give away some tickets. All you got to do is do me a favor and hit that like button, and then make sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and turn the notifications on, where next you can stay tuned for an upcoming video where I'll give away 2 tickets to any game of your choice. Just another reminder to please be on the lookout for scammers. I will never ask you for personal information, and also whenever I do confirm who wins it, I always respond with the custom emojis, so just be on the lookout for that being the tell. Anyway, getting back to the game, the offense started out looking really strong, as a mixture of runs and short passes got the ball into Washington territory. It's just unfortunately a Mekhi Becton holding penalty backed up the offense, where they had to settle for a Jake Elliott 44-yard attempt. Now, the moment he missed it did get me nervous. And like I said on the Friday night live stream, I probably jinxed it by taking Jake Elliott over on the bet slip. So my apologies, I will not ever do that again. But fortunately, Philly's got an all-pro linebacker in Zack Baun, who answered the call on the third play of the game, nearly coming up with the interception and forcing a punt. Yet, as we all know, once again, the offense failed to do a whole lot of anything, and also QB1 was not necessarily seeing the field very well. Like when he had Devontae Smith wide open over the middle, but didn't end up throwing to Smitty on what looked like it would have resulted in a first down. Again, I will say this a million times. I realize it's easy to sit up here and play armchair quarterback, but that's one I'm sure Jalen would love to have back. Of course, the defense would also like to have the next play back, seeing as though they let Austin Eckler get a catch and run for 34 yards, followed by an eventual Brian Robinson first touchdown score. Obviously meaning congrats to Daniel Fairchild for winning the jersey giveaway drawing. But the best part is that Daniel's actually donating that to a young fan at a local children's hospital. So yeah, it kind of goes without saying, but you're definitely a real one for that, Daniel. Also, having said that, I gotta thank the sponsor, Underdog, for making this happen. Because not only are they the official sponsor of the channel, but right now all new customers can get a free CJ Stroud pick for the Monday Night Football game when you scan the QR code and use my code Philly Special, where then if you pair it up with a Dallas pick and that one hits, you could win big.
Why the hell not us?
Okay, yeah, don't blame me if you want to make that second pick an Eagles one since Dallas sucks. But as a reminder, when you sign up with my code, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Plus, even though your fantasy season may be in the dumps, much like Daniel Jones getting benched in New York for Tommy Cutlets, Underdog gives you an opportunity to get back in the game with their weekly draft leagues. Or if the NBA is more of your thing, they've got crazy discounts and promos every single day during the in-season tournament. Which, by the way, even though their pick'em games aren't offered in Pennsylvania, their draft leagues are. And let's just say those payouts have been pretty lucrative. Anyway, if you want to join the best option in fantasy sports, then scan the QR code, use my code Philly Special, or just use the link in the description and you can get up to $1,000 bonus cash on your first time deposit. Anyway, while that is awesome, the Eagles' offense was not, at least early, as they looked out of sync and unable to get any kind of flow until super late in the first half. However, once again, the defense stood tall, and I gotta give a huge shout out to Nakobe Dean for making the stop on Jayden Daniels on this 3rd and 6. Like, that's an open field tackle we saw him miss a lot before the bye week. And considering that is Jayden Daniels, the tackling has gotten so much better. Plus, think about the momentum there. It was definitely swinging in Washington's favor, which is why I'll say that stop is a very underrated play to keep things at bay. Now, this is where things got a little frustrating, because Philly had just picked up a first down, running the ball with Saquon, and were well inside Washington territory. Yet I don't know if it was pressing it or getting cute or what it was, but Kellen Moore's trick play got exactly what it deserved.
What is he doing?
I wish I knew. I mean, the offense definitely does hunt for big plays at times, but that was inexcusable. Although amazingly, afterward, it's like the play never existed.
What in the hell is going on?
Excellent question. And the answer you're looking for lies right here.
The trick play, what was the thinking there? Well, I'm sorry.
Look, because Philly won the game, it's easier to sit here and poke fun at the play. Yet for those suggesting Grant Calcaterra could have blocked better to give the offense more time, or even if Smitty had kept the ball, sure, it would have been better than what happened, but the play was still all kinds of broken. Anyway, the sack also gave Jake Elliott a 51-yard attempt, which he sent wide left, as Elliott's now missed all 4 of his 50-yard attempts this season, which is wild when you think about the fact that he had been 16 for 18 from 50 yards since 2020 before this season. However, the worst part is that Jake's now got a 74% accuracy rate this season, ranking him 29th out of 31 kickers who have attempted at least 10 field goals this year. Now, I know that declines can happen super quick for kickers. Heck, just look at Justin Tucker, who missed 2 against Pittsburgh, which ultimately ended up costing them the game. But still, even so, I'm agreeing with Sirianni and still believe in Jake the Make.
This team believes so much in Jake Elliott, because of his track record and who he is and the teammate he is, the captain he is, and just wanted to let him know that we all believed in him and can't wait for him to get his opportunity to go out and do it again.
Honestly, this is the whole part of team football that we did not see at the end of last season. Because instead of Washington taking the shortened field to go up by 2 scores, the defense cranked it up a notch, with BG sacking Jayden Daniels and then Josh Sweat following that up on 2nd down. By the way, shout out to Sweaty J, man. I mean, the dude was the highest graded defensive player on Thursday night. And out of 45 snaps played, Sweat led the Eagles with 5 pressures while adding 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack, which for those counting now gives the 27-year-old 6 sacks in 10 games. But getting back to the game, that sack gave the ball back to Hurts with 4 minutes left in the first half, as the offense put together its best drive of the half and longest drive of the game. That is, until the mesh route turned into mush route with Smitty and AJ running into each other. Of course, don't be fooled, because some of those would have you believe it was Jalen's fault, seeing as how open his guys were. Yet the receiver miscues threw off all the timing, which ultimately ended up resulting in an incompletion. Although the more concerning part was seeing Jalen get landed on and going into the tent for the concussion protocol. But thankfully, he was cleared.
I guess I beat the protocol.
You know how it happened?
I beat the protocol.
I'll be honest, that was a scary side of the moment, wondering if he would be back. Yet if you go back and watch the trick play hit Jalen takes, you got to wonder if he should have been checked back before then with that concussion.
I don't remember what you're talking about. Probably not the word I should say right now, but I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just glad he's okay, and whatever it was at halftime, it did seem to wake him up. Like QB1 was only 10 for 19 for 101 yards in the first half, but then came out in the second to go 8 for 9 for 120 yards in the second. And I guess better late than never, because Washington came out moving the football. Granted, they got a ton of help from this phantom pass interference call on Cooper DeJean. Yes, if you freeze frame it, I know he had a hold of his jersey, yet it ultimately didn't impede the receiver. But you're right, my true colors are showing, and yeah, I might have justified the call if the roles had been reversed.
My hypocrisy goes only so far.
At least it ended up being a moot point. Although there were several missed calls by the refs in this one, like the blatant face mask penalty that should have been called on Devontae Smith. And even Jalen Hurts had his face mask grabbed earlier, but didn't get called either. Sorry, you're right, I'm getting carried away again. The Commies got 3 to go up 10-3 early in the third, followed by a sharper Philly offense that began to capitalize on the defense making mistakes. For real, if Jalen would just take this check down pass to Saquon or Kenny G more often, we would see huge gains like they got on Thursday. Of course, the drive still eventually stalled, bringing up an Elliott field goal to make it 10-6. And then this is where the game really started to flip on its head, as my guy Nolan Smith came around the end to sack Jayden Daniels on third down and bring up a punt. Yes, for those wondering the exact reaction that I had, I absolutely lost it.
Yes! 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 Yes!
I don't know if this means anything, but every game that I've seen Nolan Smith play in person at the Link, he's gotten a sack, so just saying. However, on a serious note, like Anthony noted, after barely seeing the field during his rookie season, Nolan's taken a considerable step forward in 2024. Since the bye week, Smith has 3.5 sacks and has been a constant force off the edge for Vic Fangio. Which is no coincidence, especially with a mobile quarterback like Daniels, that we saw Nolan play the second most snaps among all edge rushers. Imagine that, a little time, a little patience, a little bit more experience, and you're starting to kind of see why I was so high on our first round pick. Anyway, the offense showed their appreciation on the next drive, which is still crazy it took this long to finally score a touchdown, because the Eagles at that point had 312 yards of offense, but only 6 points to show for it. Well, until Kenny G took over with runs of 14, 13, and 7, as the drive eventually culminated in a Jalen Hurts brotherly shove to go up 6. Now you're right, Jake Elliott sure kept it interesting by missing the extra point, and if you want to boil this thing down, the game came down to 3 plays on the next drive, where Washington had a 2nd and 1 on the Eagles' 25-yard line. Yet Jalen Carter and Nakobe stuffed Brian Robinson for no gain. And then on third down, Zack Baun and BG stopped Robinson again for a loss of 1. By the way, credit to Jordan Davis for filling the gap as well on the play, as sometimes he can get a little bit overlooked. Of course, then Dan Quinn created a little bit of controversy by deciding to go for it on 4th and 2 instead of kicking it to go up 1. And that is where Zack Baun said bon voyage.
Daniels is back. He's being chased. He's running. He's being pushed. He's knocked out of bounds. The Eagles take over on downs. The Eagles take over on downs.
Wow, fantastic job. Watch how they fly to the football. Zack Baun, are you kidding me?
I call Zack Baun the tone setter. In that group, that linebacker group in general, but Zack Baun, how he's been able to come here, be a part of this team, take leadership in his role, and his actions do a lot of talking for him. And that's something that I respect a lot. And just to see how he shows up, how he the physicality he plays with, how he flies to the ball, I think it's a great fit for this city and obviously this defensive scheme. And so I just encourage him to continue to lead that group, continue to do the work he's doing, and everybody continue to build and feed off of one another.
Look, there's no denying how insane Zack Baun is, but it's kind of crazy to say this, although kind of true at the same time. Jalen Carter is somewhat getting overlooked, or at least because he's not always showing up on the stat sheet. But make no mistake, the dude's a monster.
He is a freak athlete. I really think that Jalen Carter, whatever sport he would have put his mind into, he would be a big-time player in that sport. And he's just such a good athlete, and he's able to get to the football. He's violent when he gets there. There was a draw that they ran, or it was kind of, I think it was a draw, that he retraced and made a play and got a big hit on Jayden Daniels. And so, again, I just think that he's been been playing more than all the guys. You guys would tell me, I know recently he's played a lot more than the other guys. I don't know exactly the snap count, but he plays with relentless effort. He plays with great athletic ability. He plays with great violence when he gets to the football. Made some, everyone will talk about the fourth down stop, but there was a couple plays he made behind the line of scrimmage that put him in the fourth down on that drive, which was a huge stop for our team.
It took all of 5 plays for Jalen Carter in this game to beat this choke block right here and to hit Jayden Daniels like he's an anvil, knocks him sideways. Like, we watch him now, like, this guy's ability to escape. Like, he could escape from Alcatraz. Like, he doesn't stay blocked. You can't run away from him, and you can't run to him. He wins so easily. Like, he's like that. Every quarterback feels that. It's like a gust of wind coming right at you. Josh Sweat cleans it up. This is the third quarter now. Third quarter, the guy played every single snap last night. This is gut. Like, Wiley's blocking down on him. He beats a down block, and down goes Robinson. You can't run to him, and you can't run away from him. He's just playing ball on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Look at everybody else and look where Carter is. Like, he's backed up to tackle 3 yards to make that tackle. Played all 66 snaps. You can't choke block him. Be honest, he's going to choke block him. He's going to try. It's just like a car crash on the Schuylkill. He just creates it. Like, it just bubbles everybody, and Jordan finishes up for him. So, you want to try to run to his side? There you go. There's the escape. Where's Robinson going to go? Right to the bread man. And he ain't going forward. He's going backwards if he can. Like right here on 4th and 2. This is a big play in the game. He's just going to bubble the guard right here. Like Biotis is trying to get out. He just bubbles him. And down goes, he just flattened Jayden Daniels, and Zack Baun just cleans it up. Big play. It's a turnover. 12-10 game. No sacks, but he was awfully close. Coming right down the gun barrel at Jayden Daniels. Like, Jalen Carter, he doesn't make every play, but he sure makes it hard to make a play.
I'm not trying to take anything away from the linebackers, but the bread man is a big reason why they're able to make plays. Although while we're discussing unsung heroes, I gotta mention Grant Calcaterra, because bro might have had the best 0-0-0 game ever, after falling on Dallas Goedert's fumble on the next possession to ultimately save the game. Oh yeah, and DG thanking him quite a bit.
Yeah, he said, how much money do you want?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs.
Man, I owe him a lot. I know if we don't recover that one and end up losing the game, it's going to be a tough weekend for me.
Okay, for real though, that was a game-saving play. Who knows how things might have turned out if Washington got the ball back. Plus, we've seen how a late fumble against this same team can cost a game. Yet things didn't go that way, and then Saquon Barkley started to do what he does best. Close out the game. Like, come on, Saquon had just 69 yards on 20 carries before the fourth quarter, yet ended up carrying 6 times for 77 yards and 2 scores in the final frame. Anyway, the next part you saw was communication from Q and Reed resulting in a pick, because who else on a late diving, sliding INT would it be? And then Saquon broke another one to make certain the game was over. But the best part to me was seeing how they set up that ultimate dagger for 39 yards.
They ran it a couple times earlier in the game as well. This is in the first half. You see it's a similar look. You've got 2 tight ends and Johnny Wilson to the left. Johnny Wilson actually makes a great block here. And Saquon Barkley, he carries this all the way to the boundary. He takes this all the way out to the sideline. There's Johnny Wilson straining at the point of attack. You got Calcaterra giving good effort there on the finish downfield for Saquon Barkley as well. This was the play before the touchdown. Second time they ran this in the game. You can see a similar kind of look there off the left side. This time, Saquon puts his foot in the ground and gets downhill. Does a nice job of cutting this one against the grain. Very next play, they come back and they run this exact snap. They run the same exact concept again, this time to the other side. But just watch how fast everybody on the front side, they are trying not to get cut off. Everybody's getting washed down from Mekhi Becton over. And then you see Cam Jurgens just getting up to the second level. He wipes out the safety. Jordan Mailata, he cuts off the backside, does an outstanding job not getting a penalty here. That's where Jordan Mailata, his presence is really felt. Fred Johnson did an outstanding job in his stead while Mailata was on injured reserve, but he doesn't have the range that Mailata has, certainly as a run blocker, and he does a great job, Mailata, here on this play of just wash out that defensive end on the backside. We saw Jurgens, he gets the safety down once, he goes and gets him down one more time. Saquon Barkley runs into the end zone. Eagles seal the victory with the explosive run.
By the way, just one more time, who didn't love seeing Beef Jerky make 2 pancakes out of safety Percy Butler? Now, technically, the Birds gave up another 8 points to make it 26-18, but this one was a blowout, which is exactly what the Offensive Player of the Year would be for Saquon if he hadn't missed out on all those 1-yard scores. Seriously, there's been at least 11 times so far that Saquon could have run from 2 yards or shorter to potentially score, meaning he could very easily have 20-plus touchdowns on the season right now. Yet even Saquon said it's not about the stats to him. So while some want to make it a big deal, 26 is about keeping the main thing the main thing.
There's some games sometimes where you're so close you don't get the opportunity to bust open and break it through. But yeah, it was no frustration level at all. At the end of the day, the most important thing to do is win football games, and we put ourselves in position to do that. We got to do a better job of executing all around. And when the plays are need to be made, we got to make those plays, and we have those guys to do that in this locker room.
By the way, the other race that we do at least need to kind of mention is Defensive Rookie of the Year. Because after not allowing a single target versus Terry McLaurin, Quinyon Mitchell's Defensive Rookie of the Year odds went from plus 2,200 to plus 400 in one game. And considering the next matchup is the Rams versus the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, featuring both Q and Jared Verse, there's no doubt that game is going to have serious implications on who wins that award. But you're right, again, who cares about the individual awards? It's really about the team. And ultimately, Philly can play with anybody. Look out, Detroit is scary good. Heck, they just wiped Jacksonville off the map with a 52-6 beatdown. Yet they do have some difficult games coming up in the Packers, Bills, 49ers, and Vikings. Granted, even with the Vikings being 8-2, I'm not really totally sold on them, and it's kind of a two-horse race. I mean, even the 49ers lost at home to the Seahawks, which again, there's double standards to everything, but I don't really buy stock into how much you beat another team by. Because take last year, for example, the Ravens blew out Miami 56-19 in Week 17, yet Kansas City only beat Miami by 7 earlier in the season. But then the Chiefs, went to Baltimore to knock off the higher seed in the playoffs 17-10. So I'll say it here. Have some faith in this team. They're only going to get better. Plus, if they can get home field advantage at the Link in late January, I wouldn't bet against the Birds. Anyway, you guys let me know your takeaways from the game as well as everything else on Sunday. The good, the bad, the ugly. I'll catch you on the live stream. This has been the Philly Special.